Guys, this story dates back to around 1 or 2 years ago when I got a new job. Due to my new job, I had to move to New York. I didn't know anyone in New York, meaning I was completely alone in an unfamiliar city. I had only applied online and, luckily, got the job. Now, I had come to New York, and the first thing anyone would do after arriving is to arrange for accommodation. I also started hunting for a flat. I had about 3 to 4 days before my job began, so I thought I would do flat hunting during these days. I had no friends to accompany me, so I had to look for a flat alone. I visited different areas to check out flats, but everywhere, the flats were very costly, ranging from $20,000 to $25,000. I couldn't find anything in the range of $15,000 to $17,000. I needed a cheap place just to sleep as I would be at work the whole day. It took me 2 days to find proper flats, and the cheapest I found was for $18,000. It wasn't very nice. It wasn't clean, but I thought I could manage the cleaning myself. It didn't matter much as I would only be there to sleep at night. I wasn't completely satisfied, but due to my budget, I didn't have many options. I decided to look for a couple more flats. Then one day, I found a flat with 2 rooms, a hall, and a kitchen for just $12,000. The owner told me, "Give us $12,000 and the flat is yours." I was very surprised that such a good flat was available for just $12,000. It wasn't in a remote area. It was in a good locality where other flats were in the range of $25,000 to $30,000. I was shocked at how cheap it was, but I had no time to waste. I had to choose between the $18,000 mediocre flat and the $12,000 excellent flat. Without much thought, I decided to go for the $12,000 flat. I moved in and was quite pleased with the good vibes the place had. I entered the room and saw that there were a few things scattered here and there, like a trunk kept in the corner, and the entire room was dark with no light at all. It felt very dark to me. I turned on my flashlight and saw a small chair in the middle of the room, like the ones children sit in. It was strange. There were items like vermilion, a red sari, bindi, and bangles. I couldn't understand why these things were kept there. They were covered in a thick layer of dust, as if they had been there for years. Though disappointed that there was another dusty room, I was happy to have another room. I started cleaning that room. It took me a lot of time to clean it since it hadn't been cleaned in years. I tidied up the whole room, moved the chair to the side, and placed the items on the trunk. After cleaning, I locked the room and went back. I was very tired and decided to order food from outside instead of cooking. It was around 10 or 11 p.m., and I tried to sleep as I had to go to the office early the next day. For the first time, I felt like there was someone else in the flat besides me. Though there was no sound or anyone visible, I felt like someone was watching me. Ignoring this feeling, I managed to fall asleep. Suddenly, I woke up around 3 a.m., feeling thirsty. I went to the kitchen, drank some water, and again felt like someone was watching me. The feeling was strong, and I felt like someone was watching me from the study room. Too scared to check, I quickly locked my bedroom door and tried to sleep. The next morning, I laughed at myself for being scared and went to work. When I returned around 8 or 8:30 p.m., I noticed a strange smell in the flat. I had cleaned everything the day before and hadn't left any food around. I followed the smell and found it coming from the study room. Thinking it might be a dead animal, I opened the study room. To my horror, the chair I had moved was back in the middle of the room. I quickly locked the room and called the owner. I asked if anyone else had the key to the flat. The owner said both keys were with me and asked if something happened. I explained about the strange smell and the chair moving. The owner warned me never to enter the study room again and to think of the flat as a 2 BHK without the study room. I felt something was very wrong and was very scared. I was sitting in my room when, for the first time, I heard a sound. It sounded like someone walking with anklets, and the sound echoed in the empty hall. I was very scared and didn't know what to do. I realized that there was someone else in the house besides me, but whether it was human or something else, I didn't know. I tightly wrapped myself in my blanket, thinking it would protect me. I started praying, but the sounds outside kept getting louder. The sound of anklets seemed to be accompanied by the sound of bangles, as if someone was running around. I was sweating profusely, I believed that the presence outside couldn't enter my room because I had set up a small shrine in my room and prayed there every day. Despite the fear, I somehow managed to get through the night. In the morning, I called my friends, who came over, and only then did I leave my room. I didn't tell them why I called, fearing they wouldn't believe me if I said it was because of ghosts. I was stuck in a situation where I didn't know what the solution was. I had no one in New York where I could stay, and the friends I had made were boys who I didn't know well enough to stay with. I decided to stay in my flat, trusting that the gods would protect me. I went back to the flat and noticed the bad smell coming from the study room again, but this time I ignored it. I went to my room, locked the door, and sat there, too scared to go to the kitchen or do anything else. Around 11 or 12 at night, the sounds started again. I covered myself tightly with my blanket, trying to ignore the sounds. I didn't want to scream, fearing it would alert whatever was in the hall that I was inside the room. I prayed continuously, and the sounds didn't seem to come inside the room, possibly because of the shrine. I managed to get through the night. The next day, at the office, my friend noticed I was stressed and offered me some food, so I wouldn't have to cook. I accepted and went back to my flat, where I felt uneasy again. I quickly ate and tried to sleep early, hoping to avoid the sounds. However, around 1 or 2 a.m., I woke up to the same sounds of anklets and bangles, but this time, the sounds seemed to be coming from inside my room. I was paralyzed with fear, unable to move or scream. I tightly held my blanket, thinking it was my only protection. I was extremely scared, praying continuously and hoping that whatever was making the sounds wouldn't harm me. I heard a strange sound, like something made of steel falling on the floor, and it seemed like someone was eating. I was so disturbed that I decided not to open my eyes to see what was happening. Instead, I tightly closed my eyes and wrapped myself in the blanket, continuously praying. Eventually, the sound stopped, but I was too scared to open my eyes until I felt the sunlight on my face. When I finally opened my eyes, I was shocked to see that the tiffin I had brought was open. The food was scattered, and the tiffin was almost empty. I remembered that I had non-vegetarian food, chicken, in the tiffin. I couldn't understand how someone could have entered my room and eaten the food. When I went to the office, I told my friends about the incident. Some of my friends, who knew about such things, explained that non-vegetarian food, especially chicken, could attract spirits. The spirit, which used to roam in the hall, was attracted to my room because of the chicken. I was terrified by the thought that the spirit could enter my room. I decided that I could no longer stay in that flat. I called the owner and explained the situation, offering to pay double the rent for a different flat. The owner dismissed my concerns, saying that I was imagining things, but I was adamant and decided to leave the flat. I took half a day off from work and moved to the $18,000 flat I had initially considered. Surprisingly, I found that this flat was much better. It was closer to my friends' flats, so I wasn't alone, and my friends often visited, creating a lively atmosphere. I have a message for anyone moving to a new city. If you find something unusually cheap, be cautious because there might be a reason for the low price. A significant price difference often indicates that something is wrong.